Every morning, the countdown begins for the markets with meticulous research and analysis designed to help you capitalize on the trading day. Beaming live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studio.
Good morning. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. We are coming to you live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. It's Tuesday morning, getting into the week. Yesterday, of course, was a down day, second down day after Friday's little bit of profit booking. What does today hold? That's a big question. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleagues Nigel and Reema. And I think, Reema, green is an indication?
Yes.
Green, we've got 2 days of pullback. Normal after a 1,000-point rally. But let's see today. S&P, Nasdaq, Dow continue to power on. Fresh highs.
That's right. I'll go with Reema. The color of the day for Navratri is red. So I think we should, maybe it should be a green day.
Well, let's hope so, because last night U.S. markets have hit another record high. I mean, you know, U.S. and India both have been they were kind of sort of step in step, right? Lock in step till at least the year before last, and divergent paths since 2024. Let's take it from the top. So U.S. indices hit fresh record highs once again. I think it should be the 30th, at least close to the 30th record high, fresh high in 2025 so far. S&P up 0.4%, Nasdaq 0.7%. And it's all about tech stocks, right? I mean, it's fueled by one name after another. And I'm being forced to, I don't usually talk about individual names and what they did, but it's consequential. NVIDIA, 4%, after it said it would invest about $100 billion in OpenAI to fund an enormous data center build out. That is NVIDIA for you. Apple, 4%, and analysts essentially saying that the iPhone 17 upgrade cycle is being underestimated by the street. I'm an iPhone, I don't want to reveal, but, a couple of steps behind iPhone 17. Oracle was up 6%, and this after White House. There was a Bloomberg report, and Bloomberg said that White House has confirmed to them that Oracle essentially will secure TikTok's US algorithm to facilitate a sale to American investors. Oracle is part of that group, apparently, and Oracle was up 6%. So you got NVIDIA, Apple, Oracle, at least the large tech companies, tech stocks, which did very, very well. So it's really large cap, mega cap, technology led. Lots of Fed commentary on interest rates. Most of it, and I'm not going to go into the detail, I'm just going to put out the outlier. Most of it was cautious. So some 4 or 5 Fed governors, some voting members and others, not all spoke, and most were cautious in terms of whether there will be, this is the beginning of an easing cycle, except one. And I think that one, I sort of hinted at that yesterday as well. This is, of course, President Trump's confidant, Fed Stephen Miran, who's, of course, come on the board of governors now. He said that interest rates should be much lower to prevent damaging the economy. It should be closer to the mid 2% area, and a neutral rate of interest rates has been pushed much lower. So, this was expected. But he was also perhaps the only one during that last week's Fed FOMC meeting who voted for a 50 basis point cut. Others were all at 25. This is just last week, a few days ago. Tonight, that is, focus will be on the September PMI numbers and, of course, Fed Chair Powell's speech. So we'll hear from him again. I'm not sure whether we will hear something new. Just to tie in the levels and, close that out, Nifty yesterday closed below the 40-hourly exponential moving average in the final hour of trade. Remember, yesterday the market sold off, recovered fully, almost into the green, and then there was a second wave of selling. But we didn't stay at the lows. The market did rebound about 70, 80 points. So support is 25,151, which is yesterday's low, and then 25,133. So those are two immediate support levels. Resistance is the high of 25,449, and then the upper end of the rising channel, which is 25,620. And the Nifty Bank yesterday closed marginally below the 40-hourly exponential average, like the Nifty. And here the supports are 55,215 and 55,027. So that's the roundup as far as levels are concerned. GIFT Nifty indicating a 20-odd point lower kind of a start. Yesterday, of course, the broader market was under a little bit of pain. I mean, market breadth, etc., was negative. We'll pick up on some of these things as trades opens up today. But how are the F&O stats looking? Nigel has walked across, he's got those for us. Nigel, good morning.
Well, as you mentioned, Prashant, overnight, global Q is stable. You like that. And also today is going to be a big day because it's Tuesday, and that's why you'll have the Nifty weekly expiry that will play out. Now, in yesterday's trade, the overall volumes are relatively lower in terms of institutional participation. The FIs, though, they sold while the DIs bought. However, after a while, you had the institutions put that together. There was a net sell number coming in from the institutions on the whole. And that's why we did see some kind of profit taking on the index. But in the F&O market, well, there was some unwinding, some lightening of position. And this is for the second day running that we're seeing that, both on the Nifty and to a larger extent on the Nifty Bank. And that perfectly ties in with what the FIs did in the F&O market itself. So they did unwind, they did cover some kind of short positioning. If you look at index futures, they covered close to around 1,900 short contracts or thereabouts. The short positioning, though, continues to remain aggressive at around 87%. In absolute terms, it's more than 1.4 lakh contracts on the short side. So the FIs, yes, they've lightened positions a little bit, but they're still net short. Moving to stock futures, well, out there as well, they added more shorts than longs in the ratio of close to around 2 shorts for every 1 long position. And now they're writing calls aggressively as well. And that's precisely what we saw in yesterday's trading session. More than 8 calls were written for every 1 put. And because of this aggressive call writing, you have the PCR that's come down. A few sessions ago, it went dancing away to around 1.35. Because of the aggressive call writing, now it's come down to around 0.72. Remember, we have seen when this PCR moves around 0.65 or thereabouts, that's when you see a bit of a bounce. So we're closer to the lower end of the range. And the calls that were written comes up for you on the screen. 25,300 call, 25,200 call. Between that, 2 crore shares getting added, and these expire today. So aggressive call writing is what we have seen in yesterday's trade. I'll tell you what, if the markets can get their momentum, these guys will be in trouble. So they are playing on eating into this premium just for today. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. On the put side, 25,200 put, though, saw a fair bit of open interest build up in trade yesterday. So levels. Yesterday's low, well, that becomes the near-term support. 20, 30 points lower as well. You don't want this level to break decisively. And on the upside, yesterday we went to 25,331 and we saw a bit of a resistance out there. But that's the mark you're looking at. On the Nifty Bank, which is the last constituent, it sold off in the last hour of trade actually. But otherwise, it was holding steady. You want to see a higher high. The last few days, it's been making lower highs. So that's the mark. Today, you'll want that level to get taken out. And the tech index got hit yesterday, but Nasdaq was quite stable overnight. Sometimes there is that correlation that plays out. Let's see whether or not we can see a bounce after the kind of selling that we saw yesterday. And finally, in terms of stocks that I'm looking at, we alert you on closing bell about potential stocks that are moving in and out of the F&O ban. RBL, well, that's the one that's come into the F&O ban. The big positioning being added out there. So I'll keep an eye out on that stock. The shorts are getting a little bit nervous on that one. While Angel One is the one after a few trading sessions that's come out of the F&O ban. We're alerted about to you about both these two in yesterday's trade itself.
Nigel, why I'm going to go with green? I was just thinking, because this festive cheer is showing up in the auto sales numbers.
Yes, indeed.
Right? Hyundai delivered 11,000 sales yesterday, its best single-day performance in 5 years. Maruti did even better. 30,000 sales delivered yesterday and very large inquiries. Sudarshan will talk more about it. And also today is going to be a busy day on the IPO front. 4 IPOs open up for subscription. We'll get chatting with one of them, Anand Rathi, on the show later on Bazaar. But let's also get you the equity calls for the day. Sanjeev Prasad of Kotak Institutional Equities expects stabilizing earnings, strong growth in earnings in FY27 and a steady macro to provide a high floor to the market. But rich valuations across sectors and stocks and global headwinds will act as a low ceiling to the market. Therefore, markets may offer modest returns over the next 12 to 15 months, with growth in earnings being partly offset by lower multiples.